Hi there. Welcome to a new episode of Branding with Friends, the show where branding meets key small business topics. Here, you're going to learn tips straight from experts on everything from SEO to book editing to content marketing. We focus on what you can do right now to use these topics and the power of branding to attract your ideal clients. I'm your host, branding expert Annie Franceschi of Greatest Story Creative. I help small business owners tell their story and show their value through branding that'll take you to the next level. I'm also a former Disney storyteller, a professional speaker, and the author of the book, Permission to Try. And today I'm going to introduce you to one of my business besties in the business world. If you are curious about how you can use video to market your small business, you're going to love today's episode and today's guest. My guest today is the dynamic Janice Smith. Janice is the owner of Big Dog Little Bed Productions, a Durham, North Carolina-based video production company working to empower other businesses to grow their great ideas using video. Big Dog Little Bed especially loves creating story-driven, heart-forward branded marketing films, as well as helping businesses with both their video strategy and execution when it comes to their marketing. She is also the brains behind the beautiful videos featured on Greatest Stories website. Janice, welcome to Branding with Friends.
Hi, Annie. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you could do this and that you're here. Obviously, our story goes way back. I met Janice, I think 4 years ago, 4 or 5.
Longer than that.
Yes, and because I had a problem in my business where I thought everyone knew what I did, and I had a close circle of friends I met with for 2 years monthly, and I did a presentation to them on what I did, and I thought, oh, this is going to bore them. They hear about my business all the time. And sure enough, I do this presentation, and they go, oh, I didn't know you did all this. I just thought you did logos. I had no idea you had this special branding process. And I went, how do you not know I do all of this? And I said, what would have gotten the point across? And they said, video. And that sent me in search of Janice Smith. I didn't know I was looking for you or for Big Dog Little Bed. But I like to tell people that Janice and the work that she does at Big Dog Little Bed is sort of the greatest story of videography. So Janice really understands. She does wedding videography as well as in addition to business videography. So she understands how to capture that human emotion and tell a story. But I'm going to let her tell us a little bit more about how she got into this work. So Janice, how did you get into videography, and tell us a little bit about your passion, and don't forget to tell us more about the name Big Dog.
It started, my background is in education. So I was teaching 11th grade US history, and that's where it all started. On weekends, there were all these places I wanted to take my kids because I was teaching in the South and we were learning about the Civil War, and there's like all of these landmarks nearby, yet logistically it was very challenging to organize field trips. So on weekends, I started dressing up in Civil War era dresses and going to these locations with my point and shoot camera and like literally holding it out and like reporting live from the battlegrounds of Gettysburg. And then I would collect all this footage and had no idea what to do with it. So I came back and taught myself how to edit. And every week we would premiere a new episode of the Magical History Tour. And while the original goal was for my kids, along the way, I kind of fell in love with the process of video, especially the editing side of it. And then at that point, a lot of my friends were starting to get married. So I just kind of a natural place for me to play around with this new interest was wedding videography. And I really quickly became like obsessed with the storytelling aspect that is available to you in weddings, where there's just a lot of stories of each individual, of their families, of them as a couple. And so when I started editing wedding films, that was the part that really drew me in the most, and creating this like lifelong keepsake for families. But pretty shortly after, some of our wedding clients started asking us to do videos for their business. And that's how we made the transition to businesses. And I realized that I didn't have to give up the storytelling aspect just because we were doing marketing films, and instead started to really integrate storytelling into creating films for businesses. And now we do almost exclusively commercial work for our clients, in addition to helping small businesses with strategy and do-it-yourself videos, so that everybody, regardless of the size of your business, can figure out the right way to integrate video into your marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to have you on Branding with Friends, not just because we're actually friends in real life, but because you're so good at that. And because you have this background as a teacher, part of the goal here for every time you listen to a Branding with Friends episode or you come and watch one, we want you to take something away. I really want you to learn something that you can apply right now. And Janice is the queen of that. And she's been doing a lot more teaching these days on this front. So I have asked Janice to sort of come up with her top 3 tips for a small business owner who wants to use video in their marketing. We all know we want marketing videos, but I think these tips are going to surprise you. So, Janice, if you want to start off, I know this is your key expertise. What is the sort of the first tip, the most important thing small business owners need to consider when it comes to creating videos for marketing their business?
Yeah. So this tip is so important that every single workshop we do, regardless of the topic, I send out an email ahead of time with pre-work that links to this video and ask them to spend some time thinking about this. And in every workshop, we spend at least 5 minutes touching on this. And that is brand identity and ideal client. And I'm not just saying this because your specialty is branding. But I really believe that making an effective video that will reach your people is nearly impossible if you don't know who you are as a business and you don't know who your people are. And I think a lot of businesses, particularly newer ones, try and reach everyone with their marketing in general and are missing this idea that niche marketing can actually allow you to reach your people and build a strong, passionate following from those people. But in order to do that, you really have to have a clear idea of who you are and what you do and what makes you different from other people doing that work. And if you're not clear on that, then I always tell all of my clients, even people who've inquired, hey, we want you to create a video for us. I will sometimes push them back to step 1 and say, I would love to do that. But first, we really need to get clear on what your brand identity is and who you're trying to reach, because it's going to be impossible for me as a videographer to create a video that reaches those goals if you're not clear on what they are. That being said, this is also the hardest work you're going to do as a business owner because it's constantly evolving. So I've been in business for 9 years, and my brand identity, if you ask me at any given year throughout that 9-year span, is going to be a little bit different. Right now, it's a lot different than year 1, but each year there are small shifts. So this isn't an exercise that I recommend someone do just once. I recommend you do it at least yearly, if not more often, and constantly keep tabs on how your identity as a company and brand is shifting in small ways and bigger ways, and how you communicate that with the people that you want to reach. And who you're trying to reach is going to shift as you grow. And ours certainly has over time. And so each video might have a different audience, and you have to know that before you start creating the film.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and it can sometimes feel a little deflating, right? Because people think, "Oh, the thing my business is really missing is this great video," and then you say, "Well, actually, you need to know who you are and who your audience is," and they go, "Oh, really? Now I got to go back." It feels like a
And
step.
that's not work I can do for you. That's work that you're going to have to do.
That's right, but I think you're very wise in teaching your clients that not every videographer you might reach out to, just like not every graphic designer who does a logo for you, they're not necessarily going to tell you that tip. They're going to say, "Okay, what do you want on video?" And they're just going to shoot something, and then it may not reach the goals you want, right? So people forget there has to be strategy involved for a video to be successful, for a website to be successful, a logo to be successful. Otherwise, you're just sort of, it's whatever you're coming up with off the top of your head. And if you're not someone who's studied this or has the expertise or has many years into it, it may not do what you want it to do. It may even backfire, right? So maybe
And when you're hiring a professional, I think you can find a lot of professionals, not all of them, but a lot are filmmakers first and foremost. So they can become obsessed with the visuals and the gear and the like filmmaking process. And when you're looking for a videographer for your business, those things are all nice to have. And like, you probably should have nice visuals because it's going to represent your brand.
Yeah.
But if it's just about the nice visuals and it isn't about the intention behind it, it's not going to get you the results that you want. And I think it can be easy to get distracted. Even I think sometimes you hire a videographer and they produce a beautiful film, and that your first impression is like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And you love it, and that's good. But then a year down the line, you're like, I'm not sure that ever really got the traction or the results that I wanted it to. And that's what's going to happen if it's just about the visuals and it isn't about the underlying awareness of who you are and who you're trying to reach and what you want those people to do once you reach them.
Yeah. And I love also what you said about reevaluating and taking another look at sort of who you are and your audience. You know, as you move over time, I think both of us, our businesses have shifted. I've been in business for 6 years. You've been in business for 9. I think when we met, weddings were an enormous part of what both of us did. I don't know if that's a fun fact of greatest story greatest story used to tell your story in every aspect of your life, including wedding invitations. I realized I had 4 different businesses under one name. And I have since become focused on the business aspect of what I do. But, that's to say that even so, I still have the same logo. I still have much of the same messaging, but that audience has shifted a little bit over time, and so it is okay. Even I tell my clients, it's like you're going to evolve, right? So like you may revisit some of the wording you use, some of the things, but fundamentally it's going to be the same unless you completely change businesses. If you're a photographer who becomes a florist, you're going to have to rebrand, right? If you make a major shift, then there's going to be a major shift in your branding, and there should be. But it's normal. We all grow. Like we still are essentially the same people we were 6 and 9 years ago. We look about the same, but our hairstyles change, our clothing styles change. You got those amazing glasses that you're wearing.
That's right.
So just keeping that in mind, and that I think it's a healthy thing that professionals like you, even though branding is not the core of what you do, videography is, you place such a high emphasis on that and saying, let's do a gut check and make sure that you know who this is for so that you're happy with the results. Right. So we don't just shoot what you want and then have you be disappointed later and have it not work for you. So that's exactly what we try to do too.
Yeah. And not even just happy with the results. Cause I have like early on, before we thought as intentionally about things like brand identity, we had lots of happy clients who were really pleased with the beautiful films that we made. But I think happy with the results and like actually getting a return on your investment are 2 different things. And sometimes if you don't know a lot, like if you haven't spent a lot of time thinking about what you want to get out of it, then you could put $4,000 into a film and be happy with it, but then ultimately not see the payoff in your business. And as a small business owner, I think a lot about things like return on your investment and overall like revenue and profit margins and things like that. And we want to respect your investment in video in the same way, but know that there's more to it than just a pretty film. There has to be kind of underlying strategy behind what you're doing.
Right. Which actually you sort of have already said your second tip, which do you want to, tell us exactly what that was?
Yeah. And it's basically what we were just talking about is strategy is as important as execution. And I think most of the time, I would say like 75% of our commercial clients over the past couple of years come to us and ask for a fundraising film and about me film, film for my website, like something very general. And I find that a lot of them don't actually know exactly what it is they want. And our job is not just to produce a film for them, but to help guide them through the strategy. And so we always start with that, but our kickoff meeting for any project is really the most important thing we do. And that's where we can help guide clients with questions to figure out, what do you want to accomplish with this? Who are you trying to reach? Is this the best format of film? Can we guide you towards another kind of film that might achieve these goals more effectively than what you originally think? But the reality is a lot of our clients don't have a background in video production or video marketing strategy, nor should they, but we do have to help them with that. So our job is, again, not just pretty visuals, but helping them. We do this all the time. How can we help guide them through the process so that it is intentional and there is a strategy behind it? And so that means rarely for a business is it just a one film answer. Rarely is it just a film for your website. That is part of the overall strategy, but Insta Story could be just as effective as part of your video marketing strategy. And we're not trying to sell you on us. We're not going to charge you to help you with Insta Story. You can do that on your own, but we can help guide you through what content should live on Instagram, should live on YouTube, should live on your website. Those are all very different platforms. So knowing which platform is the right platform, which content is the right content for each platform, how often you need to put it out, what is the right length, all of those things are part of the strategy. And a professional isn't the answer to all of those, but a professional who can help guide you through all of those is probably the best answer, so that you know what you're using when and why you're using it.
Right. And so again, I think you're really hitting home this fact of like if you are going to hire a videographer, these are the kinds of things you guys want to hear, right? No matter whether you work with Janice or you work with someone else, you want to make sure, I would say even any creative service. So whether you're going to work with somebody like me for branding, or work with Janice for videography, or work with Meg Clark, who was on for SEO, you want to make sure not only that like they're going to do what you need, but that they're going to come to you they're going to make sure you're getting the right solution. So you may have an idea of what you want, but making sure that they have some strategic background to guide you to where you need to be to get to the goal that you want, the results that you want, the impact that you want to have, the clients you want to bring in, because that's part of what you pay for with professional is a perspective and a point of view. And that's not everybody does that. Some people are just going to say, I'm going to take that logo you drew on a napkin and make it real. And that there's a value for that too. But what you really want to look for in a professional is somebody who's going to be able to bring more to the table than what you already have. That's part of why you do it. And that's part of how you get more out of your return on investment, as Janice was just saying. Janice, I also felt it was really interesting. You were just talking about different ways to use video. And one of the things I see, and I try to teach my clients, I've been talking more and more about this, is a good way to think about branding assets, like a logo, colors, fonts, the copywriting that I do for clients. It's sort of like you have the most amazing, we're putting together the most perfect hammer, the best set of nails, the greatest saw, all of these tools that are just handmade for you that your clients are going to go, that's so beautiful. It's exactly what I need to build my next chapter in my business. But that they're going to collect dust and rust if you don't go out and use them. So it's not enough to, for example, just have a video. If I had just made a video with you and let it sit on my computer for months, or put it on a website that I told no one about, people don't realize that branding is not about, it's not if you create it, they will come. It's that if you create it and then market it, when they come, they're going to like what they see. Right. So could you talk a little bit, give a little bit of insight into, once people have their videos, what is on them to make the most of that video? How, like, say they have a brand story film, what are you going to tell them in terms of making sure that they can get their return on investment? Obviously they can't sit on their computer or just play on their website. What's the work that they need to put in to make sure it's got eyeballs and that it does the work it needs to do?
Well, and this is something, my perspective on this has changed, because I think at the beginning I did think that was their work to do. And I do think there's an element of it that is still their work to do, but just as much as strategy on the front end, I do think that the distribution on the back end is something that we need to help clients with, because they've never done it before. So I can tell them, this is on you. You need to do these things after we deliver a film for you. And for years, I just kind of waited and sometimes would be disappointed. Like, we made this beautiful film and I've seen you like put it on your about page, which is like hidden on your website. That's not where it should be. Here's why haven't you distributed on social media? Why haven't you done these things? And that's when I realized, like, just as much as a strategy, they've never done this before. We do this with every one of our clients. And so I heard on a podcast once, someone described the 3 Ps of a business. And I really wish I could remember who it was, because I have been obsessed with this concept ever since and talk about it all the time. But the first one is product. And so as business owners, when we first start a business, we of course think about product. Like, we wouldn't have a business if we didn't know what we were offering people. And we tend to obsess over that product. So at the beginning, I was obsessing over, how do I make the best films for people? How do I get the best equipment? How do I get the best visuals? How do I get the best audio? It was all like gear and filmmaking. And the second P is process. And so a couple of years into my business, I found myself naturally beginning to reflect on process, because I realized that the repeat clients we were getting, while they loved their films, often why they were coming back wasn't necessarily the film. It was that the process made their life easier. They felt supported. They felt like we were a partner in this, not just a one-time, here's a video. They didn't have to follow up with us. We were following up with them. And I think for any business, obsessing about your process is just as important as your product. And so for us, a big part of that process on the front end is strategy, but on the back end is distribution. So how do we support people with thinking about, how many times should you share your brand film on social media? Are there different ways to share it? Which platform is the best place to share it? Should you promote that when you share it on there? If you do, what kind of ads should you use? How do you get more eyes on it? All of that distribution is as much a part of it as the strategy and the actual creation of the films. And so we are starting now to create helpful content for businesses, whether it be on the blog for just technical how-to, right? How to put a cover image on your Instagram TV that doesn't crop the top of your head off. Like, you don't do this all the time. You don't know how to do that, but that actually matters in terms of distributing your film to make it look as professional as the film is. So it started with blog posts where we gave tips and we would just share them in the final email to a client. Here's your film and here are 3 tips for places to share it. But we're starting now to think more about, like, how do we hold hands a little bit more? Can we help with them thinking about how they promote it, how often to share it? And we're doing some YouTube videos on that. We have a whole category of content we're getting ready to put out that isn't just about making your videos, but after you do, how do you distribute it effectively? And I think that's a huge part of using video effectively. But I don't think that if you're not a video production company that you should be expected to master those. And if
Right.
someone's making films for you, that's where they can really support you in seeing actual impact after the fact.
Right. And I love that you're doing that for your clients. And I think that is excellent. And it's sort of, you can lead the horse to water, but as clients, if you have this video, you're going to have to take advantage of great resources like what Janice is providing. And I know she's going to share that with us shortly about some great things that are coming to the website for her as well on this front in terms of those tips. And, I think you're absolutely right in terms of empowering your clients, right? Giving them the tools, not just the video. The video is this amazing piece, but if we can't get eyeballs on it, how good is it, right? So you can lay out what to do, but then it's on you to then do the thumbnail and put it on Insta stories and put it on your homepage, put it places where it needs to go and make sure people keep seeing it. And that's the really hard work, I think, in marketing in general, is that it seems like it's doable, but then it takes up so much time and it's hard to know if you're getting a return on investment, but it is a long game. It's not a sprint, it's the marathon of what we all do. And video is just one component of that. It's a huge component of it, especially for what you do. But I know we're going to have one more tip today, but I always like to save the third tip for the end so that you make sure you hear everything Janice has to say. I'm so glad you were here with us, Janice. But before we get to that third tip, do you want to just share a little bit of what you have for our listeners and watchers today? I know there's something special you guys are doing, and I want people to know about it and where they can find it.
Yeah. So just in the last couple of months, we've really begun to launch more teaching content to help particularly small businesses. We work with businesses of all size, but also recognize that newer and smaller businesses often don't have the same budget for video production that medium to large businesses do. And so we've been doing some thinking about how do we serve small businesses who are often some of our favorite people to work with? How do we serve them in a way that doesn't break the bank, but helps them capitalize on video as part of their marketing strategy? And so during COVID-19, we had already planned that in 2020, once a month, we would have an in-person workshop that was totally free. Small businesses, new businesses, all can come to learn more about video marketing. And it just happened to fall on the very first week of quarantine. So we purchased Zoom and continued on with that workshop. We just did it online and had so much fun with it that to make the most of our Zoom investment, we started doing them every week for free. And what that pushed us to do was really develop the content. If it's a different workshop every Friday, it's holding us accountable for creating that content for a new workshop every Friday. So now we've built up a bank of workshops. We've had a chance to test drive them with people. We've gotten feedback on what was helpful, what we should tweak, which was a great learning opportunity. And now we're fully launching actually a new website, Video Marketing with VDLB. And that includes all of these workshops we're going to continue doing online. We've also turned them into online classes. So you don't have to be there at a specific time. You can kind of guide yourself through it. The online classes are going to come with materials and resources to help you take it from like, oh, these are good ideas, I want to do this, to like actually implementing it. And we're also rolling out new packages for small businesses, things that include coaching calls at the beginning where we can talk you through the strategy piece all the way through. The editing can often be the most time consuming. So creating templates that you can just drop new footage into, but is branded, has music, takes some of the burden of editing off of your plate because it's something we do all the time and can do pretty quickly, all the way to full scale editing. If you want to shoot it yourself at home and not pay to have a professional shoot it, we can take the editing off your plate and get it turned around to you within a week or two. So you have lots of content that you can use for your business. So our goal is to help small businesses all the way from, it can cost you nothing if you want to do it all yourself. You can come to our free workshops and literally use that knowledge and just do it yourself. If you have some money and not as much time, then you can also invest in us helping to take some of that off your plate. And along with that, we've created a group on Facebook where folks who've attended the workshops are kind of throwing out ideas, sharing videos, getting feedback, and we're providing feedback on that video content to help people constantly get better. And the thing that I want, if nothing else, I want small business owners to know, one of the biggest things that stops people from creating video content is a fear of putting themselves in front of the camera and a fear that like, it's not good enough. If I'm going to do video, it has to be really good. And I heard someone say something once, that we're not creating video content for today. We're creating video content for a year from today. And we should, a year from today, look back at the content we're making right now and feel a little bit embarrassed. And if we don't, then we didn't start soon enough. And that helps me so much every time I create a video, because every time I create a video, there's still some nervousness about like, is this valuable to people? Should I be the one teaching this? But if you think about, I'm doing this for a year from today, because by creating it today, I'm going to get better. And a year from today, it's going to be even better. It takes the pressure off of today. Like, it doesn't need to be perfect today. This is just a chance for me to learn and constantly get better. And I say that at the beginning of every workshop, because I know that's one of the biggest barriers. And even for me, it helps me think about it that way moving forward.
I think that is great advice. And I hear that a lot too. I help clients do some branded photography. I work with photographers to develop brand photo libraries. And I hear that I don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't want to, people feel a little bit odd about that. And what I always tell people too, along those same lines is, you are there. The brand's not about you in the way that you're the hero. The client is the hero, right? But you're the guide, and we got to see the guide in order to trust them. So in order to help somebody, in order for your business to make an impact, we need to see you. We need to get to know you. And that's what video does so well. It's what photography does so well. But that means getting in front of the camera, and people like you can help. We give us a lot of tips to sort of relax in front of the camera, but just remember, again, not only is it for, as you said, a year from now, it's also really about helping your client. If they get to know you, then they can't know, like, and trust you and work with you, and you can't make a big difference to help them make a difference in their lives or with the product that you have, right? So that's sort of the step. I think that's fantastic. Janice, if people want to find those resources you were talking about, I know you're in the middle of launching the website. Do you have a URL for that, or should everyone just go to bigdoglittlebedproductions.com?
It's bigdoglittlebed.com, and we will definitely be linking to it there. One page will be all about strategy and coaching. I believe the website is going to be video marketing with BDLB, but it's going to depend if we can get that URL. So if they go to bigdoglittlebed.com.
If you're watching this on greateststorycreative.com on the blog, there will be the correct link there.
Yeah.
But at a minimum, bigdoglittlebed.com.
Yeah. And if you find us on Instagram or Facebook, we'll be sharing all of it over there. And that's just at Big Dog Little Bed Productions. Same thing on Facebook. So if you find
those will all be there for you here in the blog post as well. So you can connect with Janice. And I really hope that you do, because she's creating amazing content. I do a similar workshop strategy called Branding with Annie. And it's always great to get out there and help small business and any business where you can. And that's what these great workshops do. So you've shared so much with us today, far more than the 3 tips we'd planned for. You had 2 specific ones with us. And I remember the first one was really knowing your brand identity. So know who you are, who your audience is that first step in having a great video. So you build it with that in mind. The second step builds off of that, which is strategy is as important as execution. And then I know you have one third and final tip you wanted to share. What would that be?
So the third tip is also the third P in when I was mentioning the 3 Ps that we think about: product, process, and the third one is point of view. And I think this is the place where some businesses get there, but it usually takes longer to get there. But some businesses never get there. And in our desire to reach everybody and have everybody want to hire us, we shy away from expressing our point of view or any part of it that we might deem as controversial or not agreeable to everyone. And I actually think that hurts our businesses, because I think when we know who we're trying to reach, and typically our ideal clients share our point of view, by not sharing that in our branding and in our marketing strategy, we're missing out on building truly loyal clients and followers who don't just hire you, but recommend you to everyone they know, who like go out of their way to tell people about you because they feel that passionately about you. And I think for me, an example of that is we noticed in our commercial work pretty early on that about 95% of our clients were women. We were being hired almost exclusively by female business owners. And there are a lot of reasons why I think this is, but I really shied away from ever talking about that, from explicitly stating that we work with primarily women. By saying anything about being a female business owner, I just shied away from all of that. I was trying so hard to be what I was seeing in all these other video production companies, which were mostly male run. So I was trying really hard to like fit into this world of what I saw as successful video production companies, and totally missed that part of our appeal was that there aren't many female run video production companies out there. And by being female led, we are attracting female business owners who want to work with other women. And so I was missing that opportunity by building really loyal clients by not ever talking about that. And eventually I started embracing that I am a female filmmaker with strong feminist points of view and have strong opinions on being a woman running a business, a creative business. And once I started leaning into that and sharing that more on our Instagram, like not related to video, just related to being a woman running a business or being a woman in the world more generally, the more engagement I started getting, the more DMs I started getting, the more relationships I started building with people who then ended up being clients because they felt passionate. They felt like they connected with me as a human first. And so
Yeah.
when it came time to make a video, it made sense that I would be the first one they called because they feel like they know me or do know me and have really engaged with the brand. And I think every business could benefit. And I think this goes back to brand identity. When you think about your brand identity, one question you should ask yourself is, what is my point of view? Not just on my product and business, but also on the broader world. And finding which points of view really connect with your ideal clients and leaning into that and not being afraid to express those via video or social media or writing or whatever platform you want to use to express them, but that should be part of your brand identity.
I think that that's really inspiring. And I think it's all about really, what do you believe in? Right? Like, what do you believe in? And I hear from clients a lot. Another fear is, they worry about it. They want to appeal to everybody. Right? I don't want to miss somebody. I want to help everybody. It always comes from a really heart-centered place in a lot of cases. But, when you try to help everyone, you really don't end up getting known for anything, and you don't end up attracting the people that you can help the most. Right. So I can help a lot of people. So can you, but there's probably going to be a much smaller group of tighter knit community of people that we can help and add so much greater value to. And that's what branding is all about. That's what a great video marketing strategy is all about, is connecting not just to any audience or a general audience, but to your audience. And it starts with defining that and figuring out who that audience is, but also like, what do you share in common? What are those values? So I love that. And it also challenges me. I always learn something from these episodes. I'm going, well, am I sharing my point of view enough? I think you do a great job. Why don't you show everybody what's on your shirt? I feel like that sort of shows our belief system here. So tell us what the shirt says.
It says, the badass woman in me honors the badass woman in you. And I wore this in our most recent branding photos for that reason.
Right. And you're not afraid to sort of let that flag fly. And I think that if you believe in something, this is who you are, you want to work with people who wouldn't be offended by that, who would be a part of that world. That's not going to be for everybody. My business isn't for everyone. Yours isn't either. But you don't have to be for everybody to have a passionate and profitable business. And in fact, if you have a loyal market, you're going to grow even more than the people who are trying to appeal to everybody, which is what branding is all about. And such a great place for us to end today. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Branding with Friends. So many thanks to Janice Smith from Big Dog Little Bed Productions. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I hope you guys will tune in next time when we're going to tackle yet another topic where branding meets business. Until then, I'm Annie Franceschi of Greatest Story Creative. You can find all of our episodes, branding resources, and so much more on our website at greateststorycreative.com. Have a good one.